This is Lightning Power Lunch, presented by Reef Rum on the Lightning Audio Network with Dave Mishkin and Greg Linnelli.
It's interesting dynamic because you've got a group of veterans in here that are kind of leading the way, and then you have a bunch of players in here that are being given an opportunity. And you're not, the misconception is, next man up, well, you got to fill Hedman's shoes or McDonough's or points. That's not your job. Mm-hmm. Your job's to do the best you possibly can in the structure we have for you. And I think everybody's really taken that to heart. Nobody's trying to play outside of what they are. And this just been, everybody's on the same page. Yeah. And so we're not, rolling up against the tide or whatever. Like we're all in kind of unison right now. And, in 82 games, that doesn't happen, the entire year, but you take advantage of it while you can and while you have it. And boys been doing great.
7-game win streak's a big deal in today's NHL. I do. I think once you get beyond that 4, that every team is probably going to hit, even if you're a team that's struggling. 7's a decent amount, and the Lightning have benefited greatly in terms of where they were and where they are now. Steve Versnick, his Daily Strike podcast, it's a great show. Make sure you listen to that. News and notes every day. Mentioned, was it 35 days from when the Lightning were near the bottom to where they are now? It took them to get there, which, look, you don't want to be hurdling a ton of teams to get into the playoffs, especially late in the season. Early on, you can navigate the waters a little bit, but if you're having to really make up a lot of ground towards the end of the year, that is tough, and you don't want that happening.
It's still tight. I mean, the standings are very close in the East, sure. But yes, it is something to go from the basement to the penthouse in 35 days.
No doubt about it. So we are going to recap really what happened over the weekend with our audience at Bolts Radio here on the show. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving and you were able to decompress a little bit and spend some time with the fam if you could. And we're excited we're back here with you talking about this Lightning team and really where they are right now. Of course, my partner Dave Mishkin on the other side, Steve Versnick's the producer, and we've got questions starting to trickle in as well. Boy, they didn't take too kindly, did they, in New York, partner? I was reading in The Athletic for sure some of the articles after that loss, and even the players talking about they needed to be better, meaning the Rangers did in that game. Adam Fox is going to be out for a while, and that being said, the Lightning, Detroit before that, and then the Rangers the other day took care of business. 2 important Metro and Eastern Conference opponents. Big picture that the Lightning were able to get 4 points, which was huge. But a lot of good things that we can talk about, and the younger players or new additions continue to allow them to get points. And boy, this run has been even more impressive when you factor in just how well they're defending, playing with the puck, and the players they have out. And what does that mean when these players come back? I know we have some questions about that. What is this lineup going to look like when everybody's ready to roll? It's a great problem to have, but the Lightning are certainly in that position.
Well, and we've taken these questions before about, who's going to go where when Nick Paul comes back? Well, when Nick Paul came back, when he finally came back, the Lightning had other injuries. So
it usually works itself out.
Enjoy the way the team is playing
for sure
right now. And the winning streak, you're right, 7 in a row. When you get on rolls like this, you want to keep that roll going as long as you can because you know that there are going to be dips and adversity that you're going to face later. So you want to bank as many points as you can when things are going well. And also when things are not going well, you want to limit the number of regulation losses that you have. So the Lightning have certainly been on a roll, but 7 wins in a row, will help you vault even more quickly up the standings, as other teams in the East, frankly, have not had the same sort of winning streaks. Yeah. So that's been a big key. Let's start. Maybe we should start. I don't know if we want to start big picture. 3 games we have to recap, including the Calgary game on Wednesday. Let me just say this. The reason why the media covering the Rangers the coverage of the game on Saturday was so negative for New York. Plain and simple, one team outworked the other. This can happen. Like, unfortunately, we've seen it happen to the Lightning sometimes, and we come on the show the next day and are like, look, they got outworked. The Lightning simply played at a higher level than the Rangers pretty much throughout that game. And I don't care who you have on the ice. The first building block that you need to have in order to have success at the NHL level, and probably in other levels too, but certainly at the NHL level, if you don't bring high compete, or the other team's compete is much higher than yours,
right,
it is going to look really, really ugly. Remember, this is the same Rangers team, basically, that came into Benchmark International Arena and put up 6 plus an empty netter on the Lightning. They have good players. We're going to have to go ways without Adam Fox, which is a whole other kettle of fish. But they have good players. They have a good team. They did not have it on Saturday. And I think from the Rangers' perspective, why this was so infuriating, there are a few reasons. First of all, they were coming off a very impressive win on Friday in Boston. So they wanted to keep that going. 1. 2, they've been horrendously bad at Madison Square Garden this year. So it's almost like they're one team when they're away from home and they're another team when they're home. That loss on Saturday dropped them to 2-8-1 at home. That is almost inconceivable. I'm wondering, in the history of the New York Rangers, if they have ever had only 2 wins in their first 11 home games in a season, because usually it's a very tough building for opponents to come into. But kind of the chef's kiss on all of this was that the Rangers were looking at the Lightning's lineup and saying, how is this lineup dominating the Rangers the way that they did? And that's not meant to be any kind of disrespect to the Lightning, but they're seeing Hedman's out, McDonough's out, Point's out, right? Like, and I think a lot of people, even who are following the Lightning, are just like gleefully surprised that the Lightning are playing this level with so many guys who were in the lineup who didn't start the season on the NHL roster. So all of this contributed to the fact that the Rangers got dominated at home. I mean, what did they finish with? 13 shots on net. They got outshot 35-13. They had 2 shots in the first period. And even, as they were down for much of the game, they really didn't have a lot of pushback. So from the Rangers' perspective, this was an embarrassing loss. From the Lightning's perspective, they did everything they needed to do. The Rangers were like, we're not going to bring high compete. The Lightning are like, we are. And we're not letting up one iota. Like, you talk about the full 60. That was close to the full 60, if not the full 60, in terms of compete. Were the Lightning perfect? No. They had a couple of turnovers. One of them led to the goal against that they gave up. You're never going to be perfect. Johansson did have to make a couple of fairly difficult saves along the way. But, I mean, Shesterkin wiped out probably at least 10 scoring chances that the Lightning could have had that were prime. And, he caught a break. Gergenson's hit the post of the crossbar. Gensel missed the net on a breakaway. I mean, they had other chances that Shesterkin didn't have to stop. The Lightning could have put up double-digit goals in that game easily. So that was one of their most dominant performances of the season, but you're only going to really get a dominant performance like that if you are really on top of it and your opponent isn't, I think. Otherwise, it becomes more of a competitive game. So that was very good to see for the Lightning because they were also playing the second half of a back-to-back, and they came off that game against Detroit, which was far less solid defensively. They had an objectively bad first period on Friday in Detroit defensively. I mean, they gave up numerous rush chances. And, Vasilevsky was outstanding in the first period. They also caught a break. Like, Patrick Kane missed 2 nets that normally he finishes in. And, I think that there were some other close calls, but no doubt Vasilevsky, he allowed 1, but no doubt he made some key saves. I have the box score here. So Detroit only finished with 11 first period shots and 1 went in. But, I mean, honestly, the 10 saves that Vasilevsky made in the first period were very, very difficult saves. The Lightning slowly got better defensively. They kind of reeled the game in. But, I mean, Coop was like, the first period was no good, and then we got better. Like, the second period, they still had some issues. They gave up a grade A, so they scored 2 early goals in the second. Let me back up. They give up the first goal in the first period. They're down 1-0. They get a power play. It's their only power play chance in that game on Saturday, and Radish scores on what is right now the hardest shot, that's a slap shot, of course, but the hardest shot resulting in a goal in the NHL this year. There have been harder shots, but they've either been stopped or missed the net or whatever. Radish is over 100 miles an hour. He drills it in. Very good to see that the power play scored. It was a big goal. It got the Lightning even heading into the second. In the second, they score in the opening shift, Gonsalves. On the next shift, they give up a tremendous scoring chance to Van Riemsdyk. That's the one where Vasi made the save. It was like dropped behind him, and there's a mad scramble, and they sweep it away. But it could have gone in. Soon after, Gord scores. It's 3-1. What happens on the next shift? Grade A for Comfrey hits the crossbar, and Rasmussen puts in the rebound. Now it's 3-2. I mean, the Lightning had some defensive issues in the second period, too. There was a Kane wraparound in there in the second period. I remember Vasilevsky made a great save on that. Detroit had some chances in the second. It really wasn't until the third period that I thought the Lightning really started clamping things down, and they were aided by, first of all, they took a lead into the third. So, I mean, they scored the fourth goal to go up 4-2, Gord again, but they gave it back before the period ended. That was the one that I thought Vasilevsky probably would like back, the Larkin shot. That it's one of those saves again that are tough for goalies because it's over the pad, under the glove, but it still kind of went through him a little bit. So it's 4-3 going into the third, and I thought the Lightning pulled it together pretty well. They got a big insurance goal from Gensel on a tip for 5-3, and I thought that they handled the rest of that game really, really well. When was the Gensel goal? That came with about 7.5 minutes left. I thought they had a very good third period, a closeout third period where you're up by one going into the third. They pull away to get an insurance goal, and then they add the empty netter. Yeah. But the Saturday game from beginning to end was much, much more solid defensively. So just a couple of takeaways. I know Hagel has been on a heater, as they say, and he has been. He's got goals in 5 straight games. He's got 8 goals during the streak. Hagel, Sorel, and Kucherov have done a lot of heavy lifting offensively for the Lightning, which they've needed, certainly, because they've had other guys out. But I have to mention Gord, Holmberg, and Gergensons. It's like Holmberg came back from injury. As we expected, they reunited that line. And again, it's like they haven't missed a beat from before the injury to Holmberg. When that line has been together, it's hard to argue that they have not been the most consistently effective line for the Lightning. And Gord scored the 2 goals against Detroit. But, even in the game on Saturday where they didn't have a goal, Gord had an assist, I think, on the empty netter, right? Yeah. They just forced the Rangers to play in the defensive zone the whole night, the whole day.
It was incredible.
And, they're just able – they will look to score when they have a chance to score. Like Gergensons hit the crossbar, I think it was, in the first period. That was at the end of a very long shift in the Rangers' end where Rangers defenders are tired. Gergensons gets open. He is looking to shoot a lot this year, maybe even more so than last year, and he's getting rewarded, with chances, and he is scoring. But even more than that, Greg, or let me just put it this way, they are not greedy to generate a chance. They are very content to cycle, hold it in, work the other team. If nothing comes of it, fine. But they just spent the whole shift in the offensive zone. The other team couldn't do anything offensively. Then there are other times when they do make a play. And the 2 goals they scored in Detroit were both off entries, basically, where they got a puck to the net. And the one, Gord was right there and chipped it in. The other one, they got a puck to the net and it bounced back out, and Gord's trailing the play and steps right into it and scores. They have been such a pain in the rear end for the other team. So that is a big part of what we saw this weekend, certainly the Friday and Saturday games, but even just since Holmberg came back, they've been outstanding as a line. And the last guy I'm going to mention is Radish, who, I mean, talk about seizing the opportunity. He has been so dominant. And this is a guy that some of those Rangers reporters were mentioning. Like Darren Radish was in the Rangers system, right? He was undrafted, but he was in Hartford for a number of years playing in the minors. And it's like, how did the Rangers had this guy and now he's, dominating the NHL? I'm like, okay, well, it wasn't a direct line from him playing in Hartford to dominating the NHL. Like, he went to Syracuse. He had 1 year where he had 4 games in the NHL, and then it was the next year he came up late. It's been a bumpy road for Radish, even though he's been an NHLer the last couple of years. It's just at this moment that he is really seizing the opportunity and running with it big time.
I mean, and that's going to be the question. Maybe it doesn't matter, but maybe it does. I mean, is this the real Darren Radish? I mean, maybe to expect this type of play for 82 games is tough, and maybe this is just a hot streak. He's getting an opportunity to play, perfect conditions, and he's taking advantage of it. But what if it's somewhere in between from where he was and where he is right now? You're getting a better defenseman. And what does that mean for Darren Radish moving forward? These are things I think about. The organization wants to win now, of course. And I think when everybody does come back, assuming everybody is healthy, I think there will be an interesting discussion. Where does Darren Radish slide in when it comes to playing time? Does he go back with playing with Victor Hedman on a regular basis? I mean, J.J. Moser's also played some really good hockey. He's kind of been the one.
I didn't even mention
constant.
Him. I mean, we've talked about him this year.
We've talked about him enough.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you were to sit here and tell me, take Radish's hot streak away over the last, what would you say, 2-3 weeks? He's been, I mean, playing a lot of minutes. He's accumulating a lot of points. I mean, you can make the case J.J. Moser's been their most reliable defenseman.
Yeah, and they're playing together, too.
And they are playing together. But, I mean, Moser's been, I mean, it started in training camp, and I think you're seeing it right now. So that part has been interesting with Radish. Continue to ride this hot streak as much as you can. The goal against the Rangers, the first goal, I think speaks to everything you were talking about with that fourth line. Hagel makes a play at the blue line, keeps it in, and then what does he decide to do? Just decides to shoot the puck. I don't think that was a very dangerous-looking shot. I don't think Shesterkin saw the puck.
Well, they got a break because it hit Susi's skate. But
I mean, just didn't see.
as I said at the time, turnabout is fair play. Because how many bounces did the Rangers get in the first meeting? And they even got a bounce on Saturday. The goal that they scored went in off JT Miller's skate. So the Lightning were due for a bounce like that.
And that's fair. So, that play kind of, I don't want to say set the tone for that game, but maybe it did. And Hagel...
It was big they got the lead. I'm not sure that the feel of the game would have changed, but they were putting so much pressure on. And Shesterkin was making so many good saves. Who knows if they come out of that period 0-0. So, look, Rob Zettler joined me after the first, and I asked him, like, you'd really like to have more than one as well as you played. He's like, yeah, we would like to have more than one, but at least we got the one. At least we got the lead. And that proved to be very important because they never lost the lead after that.
I want to say this because I don't know if you can make a blanket statement, but I am wondering, is there something to... If you have your third and fourth line set, does it almost kind of allow you to become a little bit more in sync as a team collectively, knowing that you don't have to overplay guys, you don't have to shorten your bench to 3 lines, to 2 lines late in a game because you're trying to overcompensate for some deficiencies maybe in your bottom 6? In other words, I mean, that fourth line, I mean...
You're talking about the Gord line.
I'm talking about the Gord line. Yeah. I mean, if you have them set, you're not worrying about, well, I got to double shift Kucherov here, or I got to do this. It's not a liability, is what I'm saying. And that you have this almost comfort as a coaching staff that really any line you're throwing out there right now, you're feeling pretty good. But it really almost is. That fourth line can be a weakness for so many teams. Look, we talked about it last year. Collectively, the depth was a little bit of an issue, which is why they went out and made the trades for Gord and Bjorkstrand. But take a look at kind of the effect of going out, signing key free agents, trading for certain players, and slotting guys in where they need to be, is that I think when you're solid and you don't have many glaring weaknesses or deficiencies in your lower half of the lineup, does that allow the top-end guys to be even more stable? And as a coaching staff, does it allow you to get into a flow, into a rhythm a little bit more with how the game is going to be played because you're not overcompensating for perceived weakness with another line?
Let me just talk about how the lineup is looking right now. And by the way, for the fans who have a video stream, the team is is at UBS Arena getting ready for the Islander game tomorrow.
Yeah.
So they're just coming on the ice now. So they're dressing 12 and 6. Some of that's due to the injuries on defense. Certainly, they don't have any extra healthy defensemen. Of the 12 forwards, Curtis Douglas has been in, but he's not played a lot. So since Holmberg returned, the one line that has stayed consistent just about every time they go out there, Gord, Holmberg, Gergensons. The other 9, because Douglas is really being like spot used, there is a rotation. So probably the most consistent line of the other 3 is Hagel, Sorelli, and Kucherov, but we've seen Hagel out there with other guys. We've seen Kucherov out there with other guys. Like, Coop has mixed it up because, I mean, technically, you would say the other 2 guys with Douglas, which I think are James and Bjorkstrand, the way they run the lines, but James and Bjorkstrand are playing more regularly than Douglas. And sometimes James is out there not with Bjorkstrand.
Yeah.
So Coop is working a rotation. You talked about getting into a rhythm, the bottom. I'm not sure the Lightning really have a bottom 6 right now that is like line 3, line 4. That's why I said it was 4th line here. You're talking about the Gord line. They have the Gord line. That thing is rock solid. And by rock solid, I mean like it's not getting shifted around at all. Those 3 guys play together. The other 9, there is a rotation. Will that continue? Who knows? I mean, when the Lightning get a defenseman back, they could go 11 and 7 and play the 11 forwards without Douglas if they choose to do that and dress the 7th defenseman. We'll see. At this point, it does not appear that any of the defensemen, like their return may not be imminent, but we're going to find out at practice today, like McDonough's on the trip. You know, how close is he to getting on the ice? We'll have to wait and see. Crozier's on the trip too. But right now they're both on the injured list. So as it stands right now, it looks like the Lightning may use the same lineup tomorrow, but we'll wait and see. At some point, some of these injured defensemen are going to come back, and then the Lightning are going to be in the position to make some decisions. They have Santini and Carlisle, who have been up, and they could send them back. Both are still within the window of, because they both cleared waivers, to be able to go back. But I think the rule is 10 games or 30 days or something like that. So we'll see. My expectation is that, the Lightning are going to get healthier on D, and we'll probably see some movement between the NHL and the AHL relating to the depth guys. But look, Carlisle and Santini play really well together as the bottom defense pair for the Lightning. I'm just saying, like, as you get healthy, the forward, what you talked about with, like, rolling the 4 lines, I'm not sure we're really seeing that, and we may not see it as the Lightning get healthier on D.
What do you make of this, though? Because I get this question a lot. I'm sure you do, too. We're going to probably answer some of this right now. Why are they better defensively, collectively, with so many key guys out of the lineup? And do you think they're simplifying things? Do you think they're just playing with the puck more? Is there a correlation between the two? Because you would think Santini's not Hedman. Carlisle is not Chernak. And you understand, I'm comparing guys in and out of the lineups. Like, what?
Right.
McDonough is all-world defense. And I'm not saying he was playing poorly, obviously, when he was going out. But what do we make? Because we've seen a number of games where the opposition hasn't hit 20 shots on net during this time. Are they just playing with the puck more, and they understand because of those injuries that's one of the things they can kind of control and be better at? Or are the back-end players playing at a higher level at this point collectively than they were before with other regulars in the lineup? I don't know what to make of it.
Well, John Cooper was kind of asked this question, and that was the answer he gave in the clip Steve played at the beginning of the show is kind of the answer, which is these guys are coming up and they're not trying to be Hedman. They're not trying to be McDonough. They're being
simplifying.
Themselves.
Yeah,
well, simplifying. Basically, Carlisle is doing what Carlisle does and doing it well. Now, I will mention, this has not been like the late 90s Devils.
Right.
I mean, the Lightning are not just suffocating teams game in, game out. They are keeping the goals against down. I think they're doing a reasonably good job of managing the puck, They're competing hard. There's no question. Like, their compete level is very, very high, which is helping them win puck battles and just battle, right? They are minimizing huge breakdowns in their own zone. They are minimizing, if they have turnovers, costly turnovers. But let's not fool ourselves. Like, they haven't been perfect in every game. You can go back and look at the number of games, particularly during this winning streak. The Saturday game was an exception, but games in which the Lightning were outshot. Now, shots on goal don't always tell the whole story, but I will tell you, like, the Lightning were not great defensively in the first period against Detroit. The Lightning were not great defensively in the third period against Calgary. John Cooper mentioned that. They had a big lead, but when that has happened, and this is the other part of it, the goaltending has bailed them out. The Lightning's defensive numbers would look worse if not for the play of Vasilevsky and Johansson. That's kind of a simple explanation, because if you have a good goals against, low goals against, usually your goaltending is stepping up as well. But that is part of it. So it's not just like, the Lightning are just rolling along without Hedman and McDonough and Chernak and Crozier and all these guys on defense, and all these other guys are coming in and just, playing flawless hockey. I don't think that that's it. I think they're battling, but when they make mistakes or when the tide turns against the Lightning, the goaltending has stepped up to help keep things under control, right? And we've seen that periodically. The Washington game, the Lightning won that game. They scored 4 goals in the first period. We talked about that game after it. The Lightning kind of got, I wouldn't say dominated, but they were swimming upstream in the final 40 minutes. Johansson was outstanding in that game. Mm-hmm. So let's not lose sight of that fact. And, if there are fans who are like, well, they don't worry about the injured guys. Look, they want McDonough back. You know where McDonough will really help, and I mentioned this a couple of times, is when things start going off the rails a little bit, he's that calming influence out there.
He can settle it down a little bit.
Settle it down, reel it back in. Let's get back on track. They've done it, to the tune of 7 straight wins. But usually when it's happened, I feel like they've kind of ended the other team's surge by scoring themselves.
Yeah.
That happened in the Calgary game where Calgary was still down 4-1, but they could have made that 4-2, 4-3, maybe even 4-4 in the third period, the way they were generating chances. And then the Lightning got a goal. There was the Kucherov goal on the 2-on-1 for 5-1, and then it was like lights out, right? Detroit was trying to press down 4-3 in the third period. I actually thought the Lightning did a good job there, but once Gensel scored for 5-3, they lost a little steam. So that's kind of how the Lightning are doing it, I think, to some extent. Whereas when you get a McDonough back, the other team is surging, and you don't have to score. But McDonough will be like, okay, take a breath, right? Let's make a play. Let's spend some time in the offensive zone. It's another asset from the Gord line. The Gord line can help them stop another team's momentum surge, because they go out there and they just, they force the other team to play defense.
Yeah.
So it's hard for the other team to keep building momentum.
Yeah. I've just been so impressed. I know you have too, of just how they've.
And
they've
I don't mean to
this.
dismiss the contributions of the guys who are playing in different roles. It has been hugely important. But everybody is contributing.
Love that.
And that includes the play of the goaltending.
And they probably needed that to happen with those injuries as well. So I don't, you can't just do it on Nikita Kucherov by himself. I mean, we've seen it, but they are getting contributions. By the way, is there anybody else who needed a goal more, and good for him, than Gage Gonsalves?
Yeah, it was a great goal, too. Absolutely.
And boy, were the Detroit announcers, because I went back and listened to it on NHL.com, because you can listen to the clip sometimes. They were just so upset about the effort that the Red Wings had on that play.
Johansson especially, because he got out-muscled.
I mean, it was – but, like, if there's anybody who needed that goal, it was Gage Gonsalves, because I know he knows he needs to get going. And it hasn't been a problem because they've been winning. But at some point, this team's going to need production from Gage Gonsalves. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying he's going to be a 25-goal scorer partner, but we've seen him make some plays second half of last year specifically. Good to see that goal go in, and let's see if the floodgates open a little bit for him.
Yeah.
Like we've seen with Brandon Hagel.
And they don't even need to be floodgates, just, being an impactful player and having a positive impact in
Maybe
terms
just turn
of
the faucet on a little bit.
turn the
Maybe,
faucet on a little bit.
Can
yeah.
we get that going?
I mean, you're about the goals, and I understand that, and the
I am.
assists, and I
I am.
agree with that.
I am.
But I think that even just his play has not been as impactful in terms of flow of play as what we saw last year. So, yes, I hope that helps his confidence.
Tonight, enjoy some Reef Rum, smooth, versatile, and now pouring at Benchmark International Arena. Order a Tropical Wave or a Lightning Mule, and taste why fans are switching. Reef Rum is a premium craft Florida local rum built on authenticity, quality, and easy drinkability. Ask for Reef Rum by name. Go Bolts, drink responsibly. Is there anything you want to bring up in addition to what we've discussed before we get to some calls or some tweets?
Well, I'm
here?
usually better when I have one game to think about, not three.
There's a lot of stuff.
I tried to recap them as best I could, and some of these games, like the Calgary game, was now almost a week ago, right? I will just mention we'll get into the Islanders tomorrow. Kyle Palmieri torn
Huge
ACL.
Huge
and
injury.
they've already lost Romanov for months.
Yeah.
Due to a crashing into the boards when Rantanen pushed him. But they have Matthew Schaefer, and I'm very interested and excited to see this young man play.
Would they lose the Caps
live.
yesterday? Right?
They lost to the Caps yesterday,
Yeah.
so they're going to come in with a little burr in their saddle, probably.
It's a good point by you. And good too for the Lightning recently. Vasilevsky's had to make some fantastic saves, game-changing saves we've seen during this win streak. But
And Johansson.
Yes.
Not Saturday. Johansson had a am I going to need to take a shower after this game? I mean, yes, he did, but it was a much lighter lift for him.
That's what I mean. It feels like they're not under siege as much as we've seen before.
In some
too.
games. Their home
In
game
some
against
games.
the Flyers,
Yeah.
which I know that's going back, I guess it was a week ago, they played very, very well defensively in that game. The Flyers didn't generate much. And people are like, well, the Flyers are having a good year. Since the Lightning played the Flyers have been on a long road trip. They've done very well.
Good point.
They rallied to beat the Panthers
Yeah.
in Sunrise. They just beat the Devils in New Jersey. They can score. The Lightning shut them down in the game on Monday.
It's good to give your goaltender, not
There have been a few games
making,
like that.
Yeah, which is
Yes.
nice. You just haven't seen it a ton, and that's good to see. Let's get to some questions, partner, and then we can continue to analyze what we're doing. Alan says 7 in a row. The team is rolling along. Dave and Greg, when Hedman, Point, and Chernak get healthy, how does Coach Cooper balance getting those guys back in versus it's not broken?
Well, we are doing this show live, so if Alan had been listening earlier, I think maybe that question came in beforehand. I will just say when McDonough is ready to come back, he's coming in. When Hedman's
Everybody's ready to play.
He's coming. Yeah, they're going in
for sure.
I
was just gonna. That's the exact thing I was gonna say. We can quibble about how they're gonna be used, maybe the playing time, maybe what lineup they go. I do think the 11 and 7 is probably more in play now because of how good the defensemen have been. But that's not going to prevent you from putting one of these guys in the lineup either. I mean, I think Hedman, McDonough, Chernak, and Point, when they're ready to come in, they will play. We can talk about who's probably coming out, because, I mean, look, probably Santini, probably Carlisle. That's a safe bet. If guys like Douglas have to sit, Finley have to sit, that's probably all in play. And then from there, you can make some other decisions. But when they come back, they're playing.
Yeah.
And that's just how it's going to be. Are there going to be some tough decisions to make? Yeah, of course. Which is why, we said beyond the 11 and 7, if you're trying to accommodate that many defensemen because they're playing particularly well, this is where the trade deadline is going to get interesting. It can really help your team because everybody on your roster, for the most part, is playing well, and other teams have scouts too. They are looking at this, and it's all positive because it means you're winning and you're doing things correctly.
I just want to add, because I talked about Santini and Carlisle with the waiver situation. I don't actually have this information. It's probably findable somewhere, but it's possible that one or both are on emergency recall because the Lightning are so banged up on D. If that's the case, you don't have to worry about the waiver component. But
Correct.
If you do have to worry about the waiver component, it's 10 games or 30 days. Neither player is at that threshold yet.
Right. It's a fair point. That's a fair point. Let me get to Some questions. I had local Nomad posted. The Lightning are the only team in the Atlantic with a positive goal differential. Thanks for the show.
That is surprising.
That is
to
surprising.
me.
I don't know what to make of it other than
Yeah,
surprising.
in the Atlantic, not in
Yeah,
the
in
Eastern
the Atlantic.
Conference, but yeah,
Well,
Washington is starting to heat up. If you notice that,
They are.
I mean, the Lightning got them in DC, but the Caps could have gotten points out of that game. Like, they played pretty well. I'm not sure Washington's lost a game since.
I'm going to come out and say it because we talked about this before, and it's hard to make these predictions before the season progresses because in some ways you just have no idea what it's going to look like. We had talked about the Eastern Conference kind of being up in the air. You know, compared to the West especially. Now, maybe that holds true, but I can tell you in the Atlantic Division, I mean, part of the reason the Lightning were able to bump up as quickly as they were able to is because I think the Atlantic Division is up and down.
Yeah.
I mean, it is up and down.
Isn't Montreal in second place? So Montreal went out west. They did the road trip the
They're in
Lightning
third.
had
They're in
earlier,
third right
where they
now.
did the Utah and Vegas and Colorado. They finished with Colorado. So they won in Utah, they won in Vegas, and then they went to Colorado and got absolutely steamrolled.
They did.
So as much as the Lightning are rolling along in the East, Colorado has established itself. Like, the Avalanche are the best team in the NHL. So I'm not saying this to chirp on Montreal. Like, they had a good road trip, right? But it just, like, the Canadians probably came out of the game like, okay, it was the end of a trip, but we have a little gap to make up here with some of the big boys in the NHL.
Yep. I mean, and that's part of this is that there are some, like Boston, you know, ups and downs, Montreal, Ottawa, you know, we'll kind of see where
Ottawa
they land.
just got blown out in Dallas.
Yeah, so I think
so maybe that's the goal differential thing. Montreal and Ottawa both have had lopsided losses in the last two games.
We'll see. It's just I think this speaks to the inconsistencies a little bit with the division, and the Lightning have righted the ship, so to speak, and I think that's fair to say. Jim says, I love this, but are we peaking too early?
Always find something to worry about. Look, I mean, they're doing it with, and I know I said they had some hiccups along the way, but I mean, you're going to have that over the course of a season. They are battling and they are defending hard and they are defending well, and they're doing a lot of the things that lead to success, such as limiting the sorts of turnovers that are going to fuel the other team's attack, which was a problem at the start of the year, and bringing their lunch pail to every game. That was a problem at the start of the year too. Their urgency level was not high enough. I'm not really worried about the whole peaking too soon.
No,
once
I think
they have reached a level, now they know they can, like, they have that level in them. If there was any question as to whether the Lightning could play at an elite standard, let's say, they have answered that question.
Yep.
Now, are they going to be able to maintain it, like, for the next 50 games or whatever? No, they're not. But that's why you play 82 of them, right? And then you hope that you kind of hit that level again if you can get into the playoffs when the playoffs start.
I would agree with that. The peaking too early, I get it, but we've seen the Lightning have multiple win streaks throughout a season.
Yeah.
Even when they were winning championships. So it's not... Do I think peaking late in the season, does that... I will say this, peaking late in the season doesn't always mean you're going to be very good in the first round. I will say that. But I'm not a huge believer in that. But I appreciate that, Jim. Chris says, Bolt's Power Lunch, Channel of the Year. Well, we agree.
Do we have our own... Are we the channel? I think we are on the channel, but thank you.
Isn't that not? We are the channel.
Yes.
Chris also says, perhaps beginning of changing of the defenseman old guard. That's an easy conclusion to make.
This is your point that you've been making, Greg. When you have guys who are depth guys, and let's be clear, like Steven Santini is not 22, 23. Like, you know, he's a veteran guy. Radish is going to turn 30 this year. But when you have guys who have been part of your depth step up, it just creates other opportunities for you, either for them or to potentially move some players, maybe them, to get other assets. Or you're moving players to create room for them. It's a very, very good problem to have, as we say.
Yeah.
But I think it's premature to say the quote-unquote old guard.
We like to we like to come up with some topics. Some of them stick. Some of them don't. It's never bad, though, to have young defensemen come up, relatively speaking, and perform well. Tampa Bay.
I'm laughing in the next question.
Is anyone else worried about the Lightning going on a losing skid when the regulars all come back? Listen. I don't know. I don't think they're worried about any of that, and I think their response would be, we're better with those guys than without them. Listen, you won championships with McDonough, Chernak, and Hedman. That does not mean that you're going to win championships when they come back. Of course, that's the goal. I think what we're finding out this year, and I did bring this up on the postgame show, and I think you and I, partner, have talked about this. Collectively, is this the deepest team John Cooper has had since he's been head coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning? That goes beyond 10-plus years. So understand.
Yeah.
I mean,
they've had some deep teams.
This is pretty deep, though. I mean, even
teams.
in nets. Even in nets. I mean, you've got two capable goaltenders. Your back end are guys who can fill in, and the forward position, you could go 3, 4, 5 deep beyond your first 12, maybe even more. I mean, we're not even talking about Mitchell Chafee and Geeky.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about them. Dylan Duke, right? I mean, these are guys who Stahoviak,
Peltier,
Peltier. I mean, that's 5 guys who probably on another team, not maybe as accomplished as the Lightning, half of those guys would be still playing in the National Hockey League right now.
So let me address the question directly. The Lightning started the season 1-4-2 after 7 games. They have lost 3 games since. That's 18 games they've played. They've gone 15-3. It's not like they went 15-3 with this current iteration. The regulars, as Tampa Bay referred to them, like they were part of this turnaround as well. It's just that right now they're on a 7-game winning streak with many of these guys out.
That's fair.
But it's not like all these players got hurt after the 7th game, and then we saw kind of the reinforcements come in, and then it turned around. We did see James and Destu and Gergensons come back, and that coincided by comeback. Gergensons came back, James and Destu came up. That coincided with the turnaround from basically the first 7 to what came next.
Yeah. Hit us up on X at Bolts Radio if you want to continue with some of these questions. Let's go to a few more, partner. FK322, the win streak is awesome. Is it possible they have been playing better without certain top guys? I don't know better. I mean, is it a coincidence they're playing well with guys out? It could be. It could be. Look, there's no question. I mean, you and I kind of speculated this, and I have no confirmation if this is true or not, that, Hedman and Point, were they playing through something? Was that causing maybe a little bit of a dip in their play? Maybe that's true. I'll also stand by this. You don't hear it too much from star players. It's often with younger players. If they are struggling, what does an organization sometimes do beyond sending them back down to the minors to say, go get some confidence? It's, I'm going to have you sit in the press box for a couple of games to kind of reset and reevaluate. Can that be applied to for players who are more accomplished? Now, that's a sensitive topic because that means if you're scratching somebody, you're basically coming out and saying their standard is not what it needs to be. And in this case, guys are injured, so you don't have it. But that can be a mental reset, too, as much as it is physical. I would anticipate those players, when they do come back, are better.
Yeah.
How could it not? I mean, does anybody think Braden Point is going to be a minus player from here on out when he comes back and doesn't get to an offensive threshold that we're used to seeing? I mean, it may happen, partner, and if that happens, we're going to look at this and say it was just an off year for him.
Yeah.
And that does happen.
It does.
I don't anticipate that happening because Braden Point is an elite player, and usually those guys figure it out, as is Victor Hedman when it comes offensively.
And I'm just going to point this out because it feels like some of the commentary that we're getting is like the regulars are not really helping in that they are out and the Lightning are doing well. So what is going to happen when the regulars come back? I mean, this isn't like breaking news. This has been one of the biggest storylines, but the guys that have been doing so much good work for the Lightning in all three zones, but especially offensively, are regulars. I mean, we just said Brandon Hagel has goals in 5 straight games. He's got 15 goals since the end of October. He is a regular. Nikita Kucherov has points now in 9 straight games. He's got 18 points during that streak. Do I need to say Nikita Kucherov is a regular, right? So, again, there's nuance here. The whole team is playing very, very well.
There is.
But that includes some of the guys that were like, the Lightning need more from these top guys. At the start of the year, they weren't getting it. Now they are. So that some of the top guys or regulars are out of the lineup. But the ones that are in are really, really, pulling the rope for the Lightning.
Do you think this has coincided, too, with John Cooper finding some good chemistry with Hagel, Cirelli, and Kucherov?
Yeah, I mean,
in many ways, they've kind of taken off.
And the power play has started to show,
yeah,
when I say signs of life, I mean, even when they're not scoring, they're looking more dangerous, which is good, and they are scoring more. So
the two guys that are going to stick out for this hot streak in many ways, it's a team effort for sure. It's going to be Radish and Hagel. Radish, you're getting that production from the back end that, remember, you and I talked about, like beyond Hedman, who was going to provide some of that offense from the back end. We mostly talked about it on the power play, and Radish has delivered to a degree there. But that threat of a shot going through, or how many passes have we seen Radish make that have led to goals? That's an element that we didn't see earlier in the year. The other thing, too, is Hagel. He's gotten on fire.
Yep.
That changes things.
And we didn't even talk about Gensel, who always seems to fly under the radar. He's been Mr. Consistent all year, but it's not like he's gone quiet either.
No.
I mean, he's got, 14 goals this year?
At the end of his career, if you see that he's hit 500 goals, nobody's going to be surprised. He's just consistently in the 35 to 40 goal range, and he's going to hit 45, maybe 40 assists every year. I mean, that is just the mark of a really great player, is when they're consistently good. And I think that's phenomenal to watch. Local Nomad also says the Lightning go as Braden Hagel goes. He's the heart of this team. Hard to dispute that.
And his engine is going right now.
Oh.
Big time.
Well, I think he and Cirelli just complements. I mean, you could say the same thing about Cirelli, heart of the team. Does a lot of the dirty work. But, I mean, he's somebody also, too. Those two, I mean, it's...
And for Cirelli, he's healthy. I mean, let's not forget, he missed some time. Now he's back. They're first over the boards on penalty kill, which that's been another part of it, too, right? First in the NHL on PK. That's going to help your goals against, right?
100%. Mark says, what are your thoughts on Kucherov's biggest rival at times? An empty net, LOL.
Yeah, that is LOL, because Kucherov has definitely benefited, if not from empty net goals, empty net points. Hagel has scored a lot of them where Kucherov has fed him the puck. They both missed an empty net, though, against the Rangers. But then Gensel ended up scoring.
I thought he was going to talk about his Russian counterpart, Ovi, getting empty net goals.
Ovi got an empty net goal in this building the other night.
Did they ever? How many goals has he had through his illustrious career that's been empty netters?
Well, he has the most, but I mean, it's not like he scored, like 25% of his goals in empty nets. What the Caps are doing now, look, I get it. He is not, I don't think he's ever been considered a stalwart defensive player.
No.
But when you give him a chance to score a goal, right? Like, he can bury a team. And I think that goes to Kucherov as well. Does Kucherov kill penalties? No. But is Kucherov out there on the 5-on-6? Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, he's a
because
threat to
Kucherov
score.
sees the empty net. Like, he can help your team bury the other team. And he's not going to be like a detriment defensively. So at this point in Ovi's career, what I've noticed, because he scored some empty net goals last year in his chase for the Gretzky record. Now that chase is over. He's got 900 goals. And maybe it happened near the end of last year, too. It's for sure happening this year. When he scores an empty net goal, it's in a game where the Capitals are up by more than 1. So I don't know if they're sending him out there when they're only up 1. Like last night here on Long Island, they won 4-1. It was 3-1. The Islanders pulled the goalie, and Ovechkin was out there. So he scored an empty net goal. Is Spencer Carberry like, okay, if it's only 1, I'm not going to send Ovechkin out there? I mean, the Lightning haven't been in that situation in their 3 games against Washington, right? because the one game went to overtime and they won the other two. So they weren't in a position where they pulled the goalie and the Caps were protecting. So I don't know for certain, and I haven't looked it up. But I think there is a benefit to putting offensive-minded players out on the ice when the other team pulls the goalie because they sniff it, right? And they are not going to hurt you appreciably. Like, what they can give you offensively to finish off the other team is on the sliding scale or the balancing the weights. Like, that is more valuable than whatever you might be giving up a little bit defensively by not having, let's say, one of your penalty killers out there in that situation. And actually, you could have your penalty killers out there because when you're killing a penalty, it's 5-on-4. So you could have your 4 and then Kucherov. But we often see Hagel out there because he's much the same way. He kills penalties, but also he has a nose for that empty net. He knows where to go on the ice to get himself open to bury the other team.
I tell you this story all the time, that one of the biggest assets when another team was pulling their goaltender was having Mario Lemieux out on the ice because he could score from anywhere and he had great vision. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't want to be a liability. And I think Kucherov, when the game is on the line, understands that I can't cheat. I have to be in there with my guys. But he also really, from his teammates' net beyond, he's a threat to make something happen in a very positive way because that's part of being an elite player offensively. So that's certainly part of that strategy. Brandon says, I think the team is playing the smartest hockey that I've seen all season. The defense is making good decisions with the puck in our own end, which helps our offense make less risky plays. I mean, it's fair.
For the most part, yes. I mean, we talked about earlier in the show, there have been some hiccups, but it hasn't hurt them. Third period against Calgary, Coop wasn't happy. They didn't play very well. Now, look, they were up by 5 goals or whatever, 4 goals going into that third period, and they gave up one early, and momentum went against them, right? First period against Detroit, they didn't play very well defensively, but they were able to get better as the game went on, and their goaltending helped them until that point came.
I can't speak for every organization, but one thing I've noticed when guys have been called up is they've said it's been an easy transition because the way they played in Syracuse is the way they're playing for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
But that's been the case for a number of years.
Are you surprised? But, are you surprised? I mean, to me, when I hear that, though, it feels like maybe that doesn't always happen with other organizations.
So I think, and this is me thinking.
To me, that's a no-brainer, right?
I don't know this for a fact. I'm just going to tell you kind of what I've seen. The Lightning had the best training camp that I can remember in years. So we saw players, and by training camp, I'm really talking about the preseason before the mess with Florida in the last couple of games. Before then, we saw a lot of guys who were in contention to make the NHL roster, many of whom didn't at the start of the year, but they showed extremely well. So I think just from an organizational depth standpoint, the Lightning entered this season in much better shape. Okay. The other part of it is probably for the first time in a while, they've had a rash of injuries where there are more opportunities for players to come up, more opportunities for players who are already on the team to get an expanded role. Okay. And then the last component is they have a little bit of cap room. Last year, I mean, they stayed healthy, but they kind of needed to stay healthy because they were so tight against the cap. So if somebody came up, it was literally like you're filling in for one game, you're going back down. Now what we're seeing is these guys are coming up and they're settling in, right? They're gaining a rhythm. They're getting acclimated. I mean, Santini's played in the NHL before, but you know what I mean? They're getting acclimated to kind of, this is my role. I'm going to be out there. I'm going to see my regular shift. It's not, I'm up. I'm spot filling in for 9 minutes, then I'm going back to the minors. I think that has played a factor as well, or been a factor. But at the end of the day, it's just like the Lightning have brought in good players. And some of them were in the organization already. Some of them are new to the organization. Some of them have grown within the organization. But I think that's how I would answer the question. It's not about the system. They've played the same system in Syracuse for a number of years. I think it's more about the quality of the players the Lightning are bringing up and opportunity.
This question comes from Mythos, says, big streak. We are on. Love to see it. And with 3 top 4 D-men out, it's crazy. What other team in the NHL could do that? Not many. I don't have an exact list for you, but not many. I can tell you that. Lastly, from Local Nomad, says John Cooper masterclass this season has to win the Jack Adams.
Well, this would be the sort of year where he would get a lot of votes because of all the injuries and the way the Lightning are. So it's attention grabbing, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, we got a long way to go. What are they, 25 games in? So
not many people
more than a third of the season or less than a third of the season has been completed at this point.
Yeah. That Coach of the Year award, I think I've told you this, partner, it should go to the coach who wins the Stanley Cup.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fair because there's too many, for me, there's just too many situations we've seen where that award typically goes to a coach who's overachieved based off of media members who have looked at a team in a negative light at the beginning of the year. So it's almost a mea culpa saying, oh, I didn't have them.
Yeah,
as the best, and
surprisingly better than
what
was
surprising
expected.
to you. So it's subjective to a degree, but I think for that award, just give it to the guy who won the Stanley Cup. I understand you're going to ruffle some feathers, but I think you're ruffling more feathers the fact that John Cooper has had this drought of not winning Coach of the Year when he's had some really good teams and has had to perform, at a high level pretty consistently. Mythos also says, by the way, Gergenson's had 6 points all year last year. That's pretty incredible. He's definitely showing up this year and in the early half of it, too. Love to see that. Yeah, he's kind of reverted back to the norm with him. Remember how we talked about Braden Point? Could this just be an off year for him? It would look weird. For Gergenson's, obviously, to a lesser extent, you look at his average goals per year. I think he had 1 year where he hit 15. He's mainly in that 7 to 10 range. Mm-hmm. So last year was just an off year. So you had to hope he was going to come back to the metrics of what he used and performed over the years this year, and it looks like that's happening.
So look, he had 7 games where he was in the lineup and Holmberg wasn't. And then, of course, he missed, he might have missed the first 7 games. Did he come back in game 8? He came back around the time that the Lightning started to turn around. So, of the 25 they played, let's say 14, Gergenson's was either out or Holmberg was out. And I'm saying this because Gergenson's, Holmberg, and Gord, that has helped Gergenson's. That has been aligned with a lot of chemistry, and it has helped him make plays, right?
Yeah.
But he also had those 7 games where Holmberg was out, and he was contributing then too. So I think it's overall, but also he's found a line, the Lightning have found a line that allows him to do a lot of the things that he would need to do to have success and score goals and get points.
I think that's 100% accurate. Let's get this last one in. Bolts fan 1997. This third line of Zemgus, Gord, and Holmberg reminds me of our cup-winning third line. Is that the third line or is that the fourth line?
Yeah, so they are not quite cut from the same cloth. I mean, Blake Coleman has been a 20-goal scorer. And at the time that Gord was on that line,
he was a 20-goal scorer.
He was a 20-goal scorer.
Yeah.
I think they're a little bit different. They're a little bit more meat and potatoes, but they are definitely able to possess the puck. And that is probably their greatest asset. When they get it, they hold on to it, as we learned, Holmberg's nickname, Backpack. Because, he's got guys draped all over him, and he doesn't lose possession of the puck.
It's great, isn't it?
That's kind of the identity of that line. I'm not sure if the Goodrow, Coleman, Gord line had that identity exactly, but they were a very, very effective line for the Lightning for sure.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for us here on this show. I always love a Monday, partner. A lot to unpack, and we'll continue to do that tomorrow. We have a game, of course, Lightning and Islanders. I'm assuming we're going to go live, but we'll talk about that after.
Yeah, I think the Lightning are going to have an optional here tomorrow, so I may be at the hotel.
Be at the hotel room.
We'll see.
Yeah. Be at the hotel room. That's fine. But we'll have a show one way or the other.
There will be a game tomorrow.
There will be a game, which you can listen to here.
Lightning and Islanders play 3 games in the span of basically a week and a half.
Ooh.
So they're going to wrap up their season series by
Could get a little
the second
nasty.
week of December.
Could get a
Who
little
knows?
nasty.
Yeah.
Who knows? You never know about these
They've
things.
had good rivalry games through the years, and they met in the playoffs the 2 years in a row.
Yeah. That'll be fun. All right, we'll talk about that tomorrow and continue to take your questions. So please get them in because we didn't get to everybody today, and we want to do that tomorrow. Partner, great job, as always. It's great seeing you.
You too.
And thanks to our audience, Steve Versnick, Jared Johnson behind the scenes. I am Greg Linnelli. You've been listening to Power Lunch right here on Lightning Radio.